My first presentation, I'm going to have three small presentations. One which is introducing you to Uganda's coffee industry. Please move ahead. Where it has moved over time. And another one will be on the different actors in the sustainable supply chain and how we've made it. And finally, discussing the strategic policy interventions that are happening in Uganda that have contributed to a sustainable coffee supply chain for Uganda and where we are now. Overall, I expect that at the end of this session, we should have explored Uganda's coffee supply chain in the context of sustainability and giving you an insight of what we think sustainability is and how it's being embedded in the different stages of the coffee value chain. We shall touch a little bit about sustainability certification, which is a big topic in sustainable supply chains for trade. And you'll be able to appreciate the different key actors which are supporting the coffee value chain in Uganda, making it happen and their roles, and then discuss the challenges, benefits, and maybe the enabling factors supporting that can support scalability of sustainability in the coffee supply chains in Uganda, but also now a case for Nepal and what you can learn from Uganda. Please go ahead. Next slide. Yes, I've said we are going to have three mini presentations, and I will also delve into a case study, trying to give you an insight of how sustainability is being taken up by some key actors in Uganda. And then we should have reflections, and then, of course, questions and answers, and also learning from you. And then we shall close. Please go ahead. Next slide.
Yeah. Why is it not moving?
I think it's heavy on graphics, maybe. I don't know, but it should be.
It's not. Oh, is that?
They already introduced me. I'm a practitioner in sustainability supply chains. As a consultant, I support entrepreneurs or agribusinesses and farm organizations, especially to set up systems that help them to get into the formal certified sustainable supply chains that access global markets, particularly to sustainability standards which are very prominent in the coffee sector globally, like Rainforest Alliance, Fair Trade International, organic standards for the European Union, for the US, and some other systems which may be needed. But for this particular discussion, I'm going to focus on the sustainability voluntary standards, which are prevalent in the coffee sector globally. That will be my core discussions. I've been a consultant for some time, and I continue to be a consultant. And fellow consultants who are here, let's network. That is my contact. Uh, I can be reached on phone and on WhatsApp, and that is my email. Please go ahead. Um, I'm going to talk about Uganda in this presentation so that you can know what Uganda is about, the importance of the coffee sector to the economy of Uganda, and how the coffee industry, I'll use those words interchangeably, I hope it's acceptable to all of you, sector or industry, yeah, interchangeably, how it has evolved through the time since it was established as an important sector, and that different coffee supply chain actors and their roles, and what the government is doing to promote a sustainable coffee industry at the moment. That is what I'm going to cover in this presentation. Please go ahead. By the way, for those of you who may not know Uganda, Uganda is one of the East African countries found in Africa. It is bordering Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Democratic Republic and Southern Sudan. Uganda, just like Nepal, is a landlocked country surrounded by all those countries. Our exit points to the sea are through Mombasa Port or Dar es Salaam. Otherwise, we are completely landlocked and we have to move our coffee through the miles from all the way to Mombasa or to Dar es Salaam. We are a country of that kind of size. We are like a third of Kenya. And we have a rapidly growing young population. Uganda is a young country, so they call us, with a rapidly growing population, which the recent census indicated in 2024 that we are about 48 million people. Over 50% of them, around 58% of them, are people who are below 15 years of age. So you can see we are such a growing young country. We are located along the equator, for those of you who follow the geography. And being located along the equator means that we have an ambient temperature range, which is ranging between normally 16 to 30 degrees centigrade, all weather warm, and rainfall throughout the year in the different parts of the country, which is actually a very strong comparative advantage for us that we have ambient weather for tropical crops production. And that's what makes us very great at producing coffee because coffee normally likes such ambient temperatures. Agriculture, I think just like in Nepal, is the backbone of our economy, contributing at least 24% of the national GDP, and approximately 42% of export earnings come from agriculture exports. So it is such a very important sector for us, and it remains the greatest employer for us in Uganda. About 75% of the working population or workforce is employed in agriculture. Please go ahead. Coffee is a very important strategic commercial crop for Uganda, and the most important, if I can say it, because it not only its a contribution to the economy, but to the livelihood of many Ugandans. It is, of course, contributing a significant proportion of the agriculture GDP, which is almost 20 to 30%. Of course, we have many other crops like tea, sugar, cocoa, fruits and vegetables, vanilla, but coffee is the biggest contributor of the Uganda's agriculture to the Uganda's agriculture GDP. So it's our first priority strategic crop in Uganda. Um, of course, it also brings in a lot of foreign exchange earning, representing almost 20 to 30% of the total foreign exchange earnings we get in the country. So I want to emphasize those points so that you can see why government and is very interested in this sector and the interventions it puts in to keep it vibrant and sustainable. Of course, beyond the economic impact above in the export earnings they bring, it's a livelihood of over 1.8 million producers or households are engaged in coffee production. You'll tell me about Nepal, how many are involved, and an additional 5 million people who are working are employed in the uh, coffee sector, directly or indirectly. And of course, the farming system for coffee is predominantly mixed cropping. It's not generally grown as a single crop. We don't grow coffee in Uganda as a monocrop. It is grown predominantly by smallholder producers. Smallholder producers means like people who are predominantly working with their family labor, not hiring workers on their farms. Please go ahead. On a very small acreage or ranging from Next. From in a very small acreage ranging like 0.45 acres to of course, now we've seen an introduction of commercial farming, but coffee is predominantly smallholder producers on an average acreage of 0.5 acres to 2 acres, which is significantly quite small. But as I've said, it is not grown as a single crop. If you asked, it doesn't mean that farmers are only depending on coffee as a livelihood. They are diversified in their production systems and enterprises they do on farm. Uganda is ranked number 8 in the world ranking of coffee production, and in Africa it was always second to Ethiopia, but recently, according to recent reports, Uganda has overtaken Ethiopia in export volumes of coffee. You may ask me, but I can tell you that Ethiopia, the biggest proportion of their coffee, much as their biggest producers in Africa, they drink much of their coffee. Uganda, we are not drinking our coffee. Much of it we produce, we export it. And of course, you can see the figures. I could have made them smaller, but of course, in 2023, we produced an around 6.5 million bags of 60 kilograms of coffee. You can translate that in volume, but yeah, we produced 6.5 million bags, which is a substantial increase from what we used to produce in the so many years. As you'll see, what interventions have we done to promote a sustainable coffee industry in the recent time that is making us come to the top of the statistics like that. And this has been increasing over time, and as a country, we have set up a target according to the coffee roadmap, the national coffee strategy, to increase the production of coffee and exports from these figures, which have been talking about 6.5 to 20 million bags by 2030. I may tell you that for a long time, Uganda, we've been on top of coffee production, trying to be in the first 10 top producing countries, but not so much did we start scaling up till when the government put up this ambition of producing 20 million bags by 2030. And we are going to see what interventions have they put in place to work towards those targets. Um, I won't go much into the history of Uganda, but briefly, Uganda went through quite a lot of political unrest after independence, and the structures and institutionals broke down, including farming. So Uganda, while we are a major coffee producing country, or we've been for so many years, we didn't come to these volumes which I'm talking about here, which I'm reporting as recent as this year, till when government started putting up strategic interventions based on the policies which I'm going to talk about. We were stuck at just ever 3.2 million bags, 3.5, 3.6, but now we are seeing a strategic shift of production and productivity that is going to help us go into that set target we've set for ourselves. As you can see, recent figures in 2024 and 2025, we've tripled from just the 6.5, not tripled, we've grown from 6.5 million bags, which was in 2023, to 7.43 million bags. That shows a significant continuous increase, and of course in the earning as well to the economy of the country. Coffee tea was not produced in many countries before. I mean, in many districts. Uganda has right now 135, 138 districts. But I don't want to focus a lot on the number of districts. I just want to focus on the coverage of coffee production. It has grown all from the traditional, please, the next slide. It has grown from the traditional producing districts, and it has spread into other districts because of the strategic interventions, policy interventions by the government to promote a sustainable coffee supply chain, which is a source of livelihood for so many Ugandans. Because as I've told you, Uganda's environment, being the fact that we are located along the equator, is so ambient for coffee production. For a long time, there was no reason why these so many, that is the map of Uganda, why those so many districts didn't produce coffee. And it was, next slide, and it was in the beginning just tagged to those few little regions, which you can see on that map, which had been gazetted by our colonial masters who were colonized by Britain, and they had a policy of zoning production areas according to tag to crops, and some places they would distribute this region let it grow coffee, this region let it grow tea, this region let it grow cotton, this region let it grow tobacco, this region let it grow sugarcane. So traditionally, for a long time, we had been stuck to those colonially divided regions where coffee could grow. But in the fact is, coffee can grow in all districts of Uganda, in almost all districts of Uganda, as I've showed you from the first map, that it is now being spread all through that almost all districts because of the strategic interventions of promoting a sustainable coffee supply sector. Please, let's go ahead. I hope that one is already triggering your thinking of what can Nepal learn from Uganda. We want to continue exploring Uganda's coffee industry through the times. Please go ahead. Based on the history of coffee production, how marketing has evolved through strategic interventions, and the regulatory environment of coffee production and marketing. Yes, I've already told you it has evolved over time through the colonial masters. In Uganda, we produce two types of coffee. One is Robusta coffee, which is a bushy, vigorous type, if I can describe it that way. And Arabica, which is also, I think, what you produce in Nepal, according to what I read. Robusta is the dominant coffee variety or type we produce in Uganda because of course, first of all, the dominant areas which the colonial masters introduced or sectioned out for coffee production are very ambient for Robusta. In the lower lying areas, Uganda is not a hilly country like maybe Nepal. Your country may be hilly with the Himalayas. I'm yet to learn much more. Yeah, Robusta is growing at an altitude elevation of 900 to about 1500 meters, which is a bit lower. And Robusta is favored to grow in the higher, over 12,000 meters above sea level. And of course, the rainfall pattern in Uganda is not variable. We receive the same rainfall pattern in Uganda. It's only that slight elevation that is helping to section which areas of the country are suitable for Robusta or for Arabica, for obvious reasons. For those of you who are scientists, the diseases, manifestation, and all that. Let's go ahead. Um, Of course, we have. I want to talk a little bit about the varieties. Uganda has focused on evolving the coffee varieties which are being grown in the various areas for obvious reasons: pest resistance, productivity, resilience to pests and diseases, from the traditional varieties which were first introduced by our colonial masters. So Uganda is focused on developing a vibrant, diverse coffee varieties which can suit fit for purpose of the industry. Um, you may be interested to know that Uganda is naturally a coffee growing country. I want to continue emphasizing that so that you can see where this sustainable coffee supply chain is and what you can maybe pick from it. which may be, of course, may be different from you. It is said that Robusta coffee originates from Uganda. So culturally, people have been with coffee a long time, and it's part of the culture, especially in the low-lying areas, which Robusta coffee is predominantly grown. It is said that it was found in the natural tropical forests in these regions, and always the communities have used it for their cultural, functions, associating it with special occasions. So growing it is not only a commercial thing, of course it is right now, but it has lived with the people, and there are people right now who are promoting coffee because they feel it's part of their heritage. They've grown up with it. Their great great grandfathers were part of it, and they are taking on the heritage. And they are even using that story to brand their coffee in the retail market, having the story which is genuine, rooted in culture and origin. Um, yes, I think that is something I wanted to really emphasize, in view that we are talking about how do we promote a sustainable coffee supply chain from bean to market. I wanted to help you get that perspective. Okay, let's look at the how the coffee marketing has evolved. Um, of course, traditionally, I mean, ranging from the early 19s, the coffee is being a commercial crop by our colonial masters. Uh, it was mainly predominantly first grown or commercially by the Asians, uh, Indians actually, not even just Asians, who took it upon at a very, very small commercial scale. And the small producers have always been there because it was part of it, and they were told to grow it, and they would fit into the supply chain that was controlled by government bodies, government marketing bodies, or the a few permitted Asian traders. Uh, if I talk about the word Asian, I know Nepal is from Asia. It's not being, you know, pointing out a certain race, but yes, Indians are have been part of the commercial history of Uganda, having come to do the different, you know, activities they did in the times of the colonial masters. And they were very strong entrepreneurs who took up farming on a commercial scale, and especially coffee, being it was a unique crop, especially the Arabicas. And Arabica actually came from Ethiopia and Asia and India. So they took it upon it, picked it up and into that marketing element, and it was controlled by the our colonial masters, who formed the coffee marketing boards, which had a monopoly of procuring and exporting coffee. So that history is important for you to understand that while traditionally coffee was there and grown by small producers, they really didn't have much role apart from growing and passing it on. They were never allowed to add value to processing, as it is now. We shall talk about that. And marketing was not their space. So in a way, I think that history stifled the growth of a sustainable coffee supply chain, which in the recent past, as you can see, was turned around when the new government, which is the present government of the National Resistance Movement, came in power in 1986. So fast forward, I'm trying to give that background to see how that industry can evolve from being small, unattended, and maximized to being an industry that can grow and be maximized. In the 1990s came the World Bank with the structural adjustment policy of liberalization of the economy, of commodities, opening up economies to be more inclusive and to involve like now the people that I think bankers talk about, to be included in the coffee trading economy, not just coffee producing and stopping there. So World Bank came with a structural adjustment policy of liberalization, asking the government to open up key sectors which will boost inclusiveness of the economy, involving the masses, to bring competition in the economy and to break down the inefficient monopolies which were monopolized by the State Coffee Marketing Board. So when that one came, they opened up the sector. First, they disbanded the Coffee Marketing Board with all its structures, and the policy direction was like everybody, anybody, any actor interested in coffee can join the coffee industry along the supply chain and do any activity they want as long as it enhances the economic viability of the industry. That meant that with the opening up and the liberalization of the economy, not only for the coffee sector, but now particularly for the coffee sector, we saw an investors coming in the industry from multinational companies coming from the international coffee companies like Ecom, Sukafina, Vol Cafe, many others, which probably are also operating in your country. Yet before it was not allowed. What did that mean for the coffee industry as we are talking of sustainability and viability? It meant that competition uh, into the industry was opened to competition, and meaning that now farmers could produce and sell their coffee to whoever they could sell to at competitive prices, and the marketing channels were much more opened than before when there was a monopoly. And that meant that farmers, okay, starting with farmers, the actors, they started picking interest in increasing their acreage in their production areas, and of course productivity coming later. um, with that, also the government strategically, we are talking of 1990s, how we government starts revamping the coffee sector, which I'm talking about now, that is now sustainable, growing, and going forward. They created a special agency responsible for coffee, where regulation, promotion, marketing, advice, and coordinating it with a semi-autonomous body called Uganda Coffee Development Authority. Please go ahead. Go ahead. The Uganda Coffee Development Authority was constituted in 1993 and the Act of Parliament to regulate, promote, and coordinate the sector, but working under the Ministry of Agriculture as a semi-autonomous body. Uh, right now, Coffee Development Authority, again, as the country can adjust their policies, was disbanded in 2024 November, and from being a semi-autonomous body focused on coffee, and was taken back to the Ministry of Agriculture, its mother ministry, because it was an agency under that ministry. But much as it was disbanded as a legal entity, the functions and the mandate of the technical capacity that was built within the authority still exists, and it has been integrated in the Ministry of Agriculture as a department. So the functions and the regulation is, of course, under the Ministry of Agriculture. Now that is the legal, name, but the technical expertise, the strategies, the interventions, the themes of production, quality control, regulation, marketing, I have not ceased. They are still there. So nothing is broken. It's just the names and where authority is sitting. Please go ahead. Um, yes, I think I've talked quite about that. Please go ahead. So, how is the coffee industry continuing to evolve along the institutions that are making it viable? Institutionally, the institutions that are supporting the coffee industry of course, starts with government. Government means the ministries and the lower level government levels, government, and then the private sector. Basically, the institutions that are involved are from government and the private sector. Institutionally, these institutions have been highlighted by our Uganda National Coffee Policy of 2013. Before, we really didn't have a national coffee policy, but we have a national coffee policy now, which was developed in 2013, which outlines the different roles of the key actors who contribute to the vibrant, sustainable coffee supply chain we are discussing today. The Ministry of Agriculture being the lead ministry, uh, tasked to, of course, the roles are many, but the major role is tasked to set an enabling environment, enforcing regulations and policies, setting regulations and policies that govern the industry. It's the anchor mother ministry. Of course, you could talk of Ministry of Trade, but within the Ministry of Agriculture, I've told you, the Coffee Development Authority was tasked with that task of marketing coffee, particularly focusing on coffee. Ministry of Trade does all other things, but it's not the one marketing coffee. I hope that one comes into perspective. Then coming again, government and private sector, we have local governments in the different production districts of the country, just like I think you also have local governments at a lower level, which are supposed to augment or support the coffee extension services that are being provided or that have been for a long time provided by the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, which was, of course, the main anchor organization. Within the local government, there is an extension system, so we call it that they augment the coffee specific extension, which was established under the Coffee Development Authority. We have anchor institutions like research as a key actor, institutional actor. We have a dedicated National Coffee Research Institute dedicated to carrying out research on coffee from varieties, growing conditions, climate resilience, pests and disease, response to fertility, growing conditions, and all that, all to do with producing varieties of coffee that can meet the industry demands. Quality tests, is it test profiles? They do all that kind of research, and that is their role, and it is still there doing that job. We have, of course, Uganda Coffee Development Authority. I've talked about it. It was now disbanded legally, but it was taken back to the ministry, and the whole machinery was just transferred there with all its functions and that technical staff who are managing the coffee industry. So it is still there. Please go ahead. We have had another institution which is very key in promoting a sustainable coffee supply chain and or sector in Uganda, the National Agriculture Advisory Services, which was also a semi-autonomous body, which was put up by government to provide extension services driven by demand of the farmers. Besides the traditional extension services, there was a special advisory services body which was to drive demand-driven extension services to the different locations of the districts and meeting needs of the different crops which were not receiving much attention, like coffee received special attention because of its position in the industry. Now we bring on the private sector institutions. Government and private sector are the bodies or actors which are really responsible for moving the coffee industry, but sectioned in different specific actors. We have definitely the processors, traders, and roasters. And in that institutional capacity, there are different associations of processors and traders at national level. Um, we have a association at a national level. We have a roasters association registered at a national level. We have a traders association registered at a national level, where all these actors can converge and dialogue on policy, facilitate business development along the coffee value chain, and also engage government on industry demanded services that can propel the industry further. Farm organizations, Uganda is now a hot spot for mobilizing and sensitizing farmers for viable agribusinesses along not only in coffee but along all the many major strategic commodities. And of course, there was in the beginning the breakdown of farmer institutions or organizations when the country was went through a turmoil of instability between the independence and the early 1990s, but now it is a strategic intervention that government is focused on supporting farm organization to mobilize so that it can be a vehicle of mobilizing and sensitizing farmers, especially now in the coffee industry, for viable groups that operate and grow coffee as a business. We have development partners who share knowledge, skills, and best practices, and also provide development financing to the coffee industry. Yeah, Uganda has been a good beneficiary of development partners support from different agencies or countries like the European Union, where our coffee is marketed, much of it, about 67 or 65% of our coffee goes to the European Union. So European Union as an economic bloc is a strategic development partner with the Uganda government to promote this sustainable coffee industry. Please go ahead. Uh, what are the current government policy and strategic interventions on the coffee subsector? Please go ahead. I've already explained that since 2013, the country is very clear on the policy direction regarding coffee. And for the interest of time, I didn't go into much of the strategic interventions, but along my presentations, of course, I'll talk about some of them, which are outlined under the different policy objectives, which are you see here. The first policy objective is very focused on increasing coffee production and productivity. I want you to mark that is our first policy objective, to increase coffee production and productivity at farm level in a sustainable way that addresses the social, ecological, and economic dimensions. So, sustainability, as you've been discussing or as you've known it, is already a policy strategic focus for our coffee industry. And that's why I'm discussing this in a wholesome way, not in a very niche way. It's at a country level that a sustainable coffee supply chain is what Uganda is promoting. And then, of course, another strategic intervention is about strengthening the coffee research, which is very key precursor for generating, varieties and responses of the coffee industry that meets the industry requirements and the market demands. Focusing on the coffee extension and training under unified centralized service delivery system that is focused on coffee. That's why I talked about UCDA was or is the place where the specific coffee extension focus is put. I don't know about in Nepal whether you have such interventions for certain commodities, but in Uganda, because coffee has that strategic position in the economic crops, it has a specific coffee extension system. Agronomists particularly trained to offer extension system for coffee and spread around the country. Another strategic position of the farmer organization, which I've talked about, and you see how it comes together to promote a sustainable coffee industry. Streamlining the existing coffee laws and regulations at all stages. Yes, Uganda is a country which has focused on regulating and improving the coffee industry in a positive way that ensures sustainability, viability, and meeting the market requirements and demands. So, existing laws and their enforcement is a very strategic area for the sustainable coffee supply chain. Value addition is also a strategic objective under the policy, meaning that the coffee industry, we are no longer just looking at exporting the just beans. I've already mentioned that in the whole time we're just exporting beans. But strategically, value addition is a strategic objective where the government is providing an enabling environment, opening up the industry and training and providing incentives which promote value addition. And lastly, after we've exported a lot of coffee, production is produce a lot of coffee. We are exporting quite a lot of it. We also want to go the Ethiopian way to promote a sustainable coffee supply chain of encouraging domestic consumption of coffee, drinking it ourselves to create viability economically, economic sustainability. Uganda is not a coffee drinking industry. If anything, everyone drinks tea. Taken from our colonial masters, they promoted tea, but now strategically the government believes our population, the young population, should take the tea creating market for the product, even locally, without looking at just exports. Those are the main strategic objectives for a sustainable coffee supply chain or industry in Uganda, under which all these discussions, which I'm going to follow on, revolve. And what can Nepal learn from all these kind of interventions or strategic objective, interventions that Uganda is doing to promote a sustainable supply chain? Please go ahead. Um, Now, I don't know how many minutes have I covered so far, Sonita?
We are now 14 past 8 here in Kathmandu, Florence. So
So
you have covered around 45 minutes. You're done.
45
We start, yeah,
Okay, that's fine. I think then I should fast track so that I'm done in the next first 5 to 5 minutes.
yeah.
Okay, with that background, which I think opens up your reflection relating on how Uganda is set or has positioned itself to promote a sustainable coffee industry. We just want to break it down quickly to what sustainability is when they're doing all those promoting all those interventions, starting at the farm level, because coffee production starts at the farm. Please go ahead. Um, Sustainability, we've been learning about sustainability as the ability of the present generation to meet its needs without compromising the next future generation to meet its needs. The same definitions applies for us in Uganda's coffee industry. We want a sustainable coffee industry which can benefit the present generation, the producers meaning the farmers, their households, the community, because it's a strategic crop for us, and also the future generation to benefit from the coffee industry by ensuring that we do it right in our time, the way we produce the coffee, the way we process it, the way we market it, the way we treat the people involved in coffee. Are we including others? Is the coffee industry being taken up by the young population? I've told you already that Uganda, we have 58% is a young population. How can we include the young population, the Gen Z generation, to love coffee so that even in the future they can love it? And of course, sustainability is a hot issue and an evolving topic and a discussion in the global coffee supply chain for the obvious reasons, which you all understand. I won't spend much time there. Coffee's demand is always increasing in the market. Consumption is increasing, demand is increasing, and the area under coffee has shrunk or has not expanded. So we are seeing a trend where the increasing demand is forcing expansion of production areas, and that includes uh, getting engaged in clearing uh, new areas for coffee expansion. And in that case, I want to bring this background in place so that we can know what we're thinking about sustainability in coffee. It is, of course, affecting livelihoods and environment, and community. I'm sure you've discussed many of those aspects in the previous sections of the seminar on ECG and interventions and practices in operations in business. But in the coffee industry, that is also the view where we see that Uganda coffee industry needs to be sustainable right from the farm to the market. Please move on. Um, I've explained that because of the increasing demand for coffee, even in Uganda itself, we are seeing an evolution of the way coffee is produced to increase productivity in a way that may not be sustainable. I've told you in the beginning, coffee was a smallholder production crop. It still is, but the increasing demand means that producers or farmers who are small producers and smallholders want to increase productivity. So they are beginning to take up practices like use of fertilizers. Some are clearing forests, which are leading to loss of biodiversity. Low lands are now being cleared, expanding for coffee. Due to the demand of different qualities of coffee, the way processing is done is also changing and evolving, and because of that, innovations in the processing may lead to pollution or excessive use of water for cleaning coffees or fermenting them, especially in the what is it in the Arabica. The tastes are turning to completely wet processed coffee. Yet druga, which is dried Arabica, was a product for us actually. We didn't do a lot of wet processed coffee in Uganda. So all those changes in production practices, even at a local scale, though also happening at an international scale in coffee production elsewhere where coffee is produced, is creating a scenario where the industry may not be sustainable socially, environmentally, and economically for the present and future generation. So move ahead. I think I've discussed that. But at this point, I want to bring in a snapshot of standards and certification. You've known the background of what is happening in Uganda. It is not unique. It is also happening at a global scale where the coffee industry is no longer sustainable due to the changing production practices that are happening to meet the production demands and quantities in the international market. That has happened not only in Uganda but in major coffee growing places. And of course, particularly if we talk about coffee growing places, for example, Brazil, I want to relate to Brazil. It is a country which is the major producer of coffee, and it has been a culprit of destroying the environment in the name of expanding coffee. And that's where even the Rainforest Alliance movement for protecting forests and forest communities to ensure sustainability came from. And now we have those bodies and setting up standards defining what is a sustainable coffee industry. That history, I won't go much into it, but it is part of the journey of Uganda's coffee sustainable industry, but also globally. We are also seeing other organizations which are coming up strongly to promote sustainability in global supply chains, but also focusing on coffee like fair trade, which is focused on ensuring economic sustainability and social well-being of communities which are involved in coffee as a force that is globally influencing the way coffee is being grown. Um, we have standards, for example, in block economic communities, for example, in the EU. I'm sure many of you know about it. They've come up to also protect the interest of consumers who are passionate about sustainability, protecting the environment, to ensure that not only coffee, okay, let's talk about coffee, is produced in a way that meets that the generation demands of today and the future, that does not endanger the environment. So I wanted to bring that in. happy to answer any more questions later, but I won't go into that much. I want to talk a little bit about sustainability and the standards in a form that while Uganda coffee industry is not bent on following the blueprint of the sustainability standards of fair trade, for example, rainforest as a country, but the way the government as the anchor actor for promoting a sustainable coffee supply chain has positioned themselves through the pronounced national coffee policy, you see that their interventions and statements are aligning with promoting a sustainable coffee industry. Please go ahead. Um, Yes, you may have heard that sustainability is driven by mission, especially in the formalized setup of following a blueprint of sustainability standards in a coffee in a supply chain like coffee. Uh, but does that mean that sustainability must be following a blueprint of some foreign sustainability standards, which are, of course, it's something I want you to reflect on about. That is another topic, but another subject area. But I wanted to instigate a thinking about that, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Of course, some of you may be already in this space. You know, these sustainability standards have become a force in the global coffee supply chain because they are driven on a mission that is promoting sustainability, of course, along its pillars, the three pillars: social justice and transformation. They have requirements that promote those pillars. The economic empowerment of communities that are involved in the production of coffee, and the agents. Now, let's talk about the agents to protect and preserve and conserve the environment under which coffee is produced. Sustainability standards as a basis for sustainable coffee supply chain. So, is Uganda following that? If you ask me, we are not strictly following a blueprint set on or benchmarked on the sustainability certification standards. Please go down. Go down. But they may be defined in the international trade environment, but we've come up with our way of promoting a sustainable coffee supply chain. For purposes of learning, international trade centers define the sustainability standard in a formal way, which are a private force for promoting trade in a way that aims to protect people and environment during production, manufacturing, trading, and consumption. And in the coffee, the main trending, not trading, trending sustainability standards, which I've mentioned quickly, are mainly rainforest, fair trade, and the regulatory standards of organic, which are in the major coffee markets, okay, where much of the coffee is consumed in Europe and US, and recently Japan is also coming up with, not coming up, they have a standard for organic certification. So to be clear, Uganda sustainable coffee supply chain is not strictly following codes of conduct based on audit protocols which have been set up by the sustainability standards bodies in the world, as you know about them. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. So that is the reflection, and which I want to put in your mind as we shall head to the discussion. Should sustainability or a sustainable coffee supply chain be based on formally set sustainability standards, as I've briefly hinted? Those of you already in that space, you can we can discuss so that to be practiced in a coffee supply chain, no or yes, depending on where you're coming from or you're leaning. Please go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. What has been Uganda's strategy as in Uganda's coffee sector strategy to integrate sustainability principles in the coffee supply chain? Please, first the first one. I think I do production social. Yes. As benchmarked on all those strategic interventions based on the policy for sustainable coffee supply chain production productivity to market, Uganda has pronounced itself in the way we are promoting sustainability on the farm, starting on the farm. Along the social pillar, this is what we are promoting. Um, Socially, we say that let coffee production be a joint planning decision and activity for the whole homestead. Those of you who know coffee in Uganda, it was only a man's thing and women were not involved. Inclusiveness is the principle. Inclusiveness through joint planning, decision making, so that the the garden or the production can be sustainable from the farm. And now there's targeted trainings to ensure inclusiveness of all household members in coffee production at the farm. We are also having interventions which are focused on involving children and youth in the farm. I've told you, our generation is a young, our country has a young generation. There are interventions within the support system of the coffee industry to focus on interesting children and youth in the farm, not in a way that promotes child labor. That is not the intention, but that is the principle basically. A principle of ensuring that workers who are on the farm are catered for in a way that meets their social and human rights and economic rights. It is something, it's a discussion that is going on, which actually still aligns with the sustainability, formal sustainability standards. The environment pillar, of course, the first thing is that you do everything right. Do everything right. We've come up with guidance on how to grow Robusta coffee, how to grow Arabica coffee through formalized extension manuals and materials which have been developed based on research and information generated by the industry. Protecting and conserving the soil is a key pillar that is promoted in coffee production and the training and the extension, promotion of trees on the farm, and especially now we have knowledge of recommended coffee shade trees in the different regions of where coffee is grown. Um, Using of appropriate water conservation practices is a major focus in coffee extension. Safe handling and use of chemicals and recommended chemicals is a very key areas which the government is clear about and has specific recommendations. Promoting energy saving on a energy saving activities or use on a coffee household is also an integrated part of sustainability, because now farmers are beginning to processing, but also as part of the a sustainable environment within the farming system. Okay, let's move ahead. On the economic part of it, the economic, yeah, please go ahead. On the economic part of it, we are saying that the environment has already been liberalized for prices which should be competitive. Farmers sell wherever they with the best buyer. The best buyer takes the price, the coffee. So economically, I think that is already integrated by the policy environment. Then also good governance as part of sustainability within the institutional setup, which should promote a sustainable coffee supply chain. We've talked of farmer organization being a vehicle of mobilizing farmers for promoting production and productivity of coffee. The farm organizations are encouraged to form, that is formalization of farm organizations, promoting the principles of transparency, participation, and inclusiveness, making sure farmers come and dialogue on their issues within the organization and even outside the, ex- the their organization, and ensuring or looking at the fact that these farmer organizations should trade with integrity. Integrity meaning that they don't cheat each other, of course, and of course the law comes in of weighing scales, all those details. So, how coffee is sustainability is looked at the production level. It is starting with the farm and interventions which are coming directly through the institutions and the supporting mechanism of a sustainable coffee supply chain and policy interventions. Along the stages of processing, of course, the economic, social, and environmental pillar, it's basically following the national regulations which have been set out by the government on how processing should be done, the quality parameters which should be met that should produce a good coffee that is marketable, that meets the market demands to our outside countries, meeting up with the regulations of access market access requirements based on regulations of quality in the major economic blocks. The government is working around that by enforcing and adjusting or regulations and standards on coffee processing, leading to what the market demands for environment. And yeah, yes. Then at the distribution really is at the end when coffee has gone out of the chain and it is going to the market. Of course, the Uganda government is very clear on the national regulations which are supposed to be followed when you're exporting, and of course meeting the regulations which are in the importing countries, and of course being able to meet up with the specified contract arrangements which are business to business, following them according to the applicable national law and the industry best practices. So the regulated coffee industry through the Ministry of Agriculture now ensures that there is sustainability along the production chains, either by law or direct interventions on farm policy and standards, or training and extension or research. Please go ahead. I want to thank you for your attention and interest in the sustainable coffee supply chain, and I think we want to continue with the discussion again. I want to load on a small presentation which continues us into the details of the sustainable coffee supply chain in Uganda. Uh, can you please load presentation number 3, key actors?
Right. Okay. Let me quickly download the slide. Just give me a couple of minutes.
It's okay. Meantime, as I also send her another big presentation which is heavy on graphics, please feel free to type your questions or reflections, which we shall have time to discuss after I've presented.
Is this the one, Florence? Can you see?
Wait a minute. I want to send you the other through.
Is
Yes.
this the one that you sent to me recently?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me see. Yes,
Okay.
that's it. Just give me a moment. I send you another presentation, which is a bit
Sure.
heavy. As
Uh,
participants take a break and post in questions, as I sent Sunita my last presentation, it's heavy on graphics.
should we? Would you like to take a break for 5 minutes, Florence, and then come back, or would you like to continue?
No, I'm going to continue. Just give
Okay.
me, let everyone take a little water break as I send you this. but I'm not
Sure.
going to break.
Sure, let me see the slide. Mm,
Please take a water break as I also send this.
sure. Yeah. Applicable to everybody. Just take a quick water break if you'd like to come and take for a minute or so. We're just waiting for additional information from Florence.
Yeah, I'm just sending a big presentation. Don't worry.
Mm,
In a moment, I'll be done. Please.
yeah.
It's heavy on graphics, sorry.
No
And my
worries.
monitor is yeah,
No worries.
yeah. Your your server rejected?
Sorry? What happened? You're sending this slide or
I'm sending another one which is heavy, the last presentation.
okay.
Yeah. I hope it works.
I did receive your second slide though.
Yeah,
The
that's one
one.
I'm going to present. I'm
Yeah.
sending you the last one.
Mm.
It is failing. It's okay. I think let's go ahead. After the one we shall see if I can present it from here.
Oh, sure. Do you want to try sharing this in WhatsApp, Florence? You can also share the document in WhatsApp. If not, then we can continue. If the email is not working,
Just a minute.
yeah, you can just drag the document, and if I can download it, then that should also be one good alternate.
Let me just forward it to you from. Try to see if you can open it, but in the meantime, I think I can go ahead as we troubleshoot that. Have you received the forward mail from me?
Oh, I was speaking, but the mic was on mute. Florence, what I was saying is, I haven't received a message in WhatsApp, but we can continue with your second slide.
Okay.
And once you're done, we can come back and see again.
Okay, fine.
Okay, all
Please
right.
say, put the second
Sure.
presentation.
Okay. Just let me know when you can see the screen. Yeah, I'm just going to turn off my mic and camera.
Okay. Um, Thank you again. Let's continue understanding what we are doing to have a sustainable coffee supply chain. Uh, Please go next slide. That is just continuing with the. We've already discussed some of the institutional actors in the sustainable coffee supply chain based on the national coffee policy from the previous presentation. This is just a quick snapshot of the direct chain actors which are making the coffee industry work. Of course, government, I'm not mentioning it again here, but research is government. Of course, we have established researchers are there. We have established seed producers and nursery operators which are licensed. You can't be a seed producer or nursery operator in the coffee industry without being licensed. We have of course, those are supposed to multiply the coffee varieties that have been produced by research. Government is not playing a role of multiplying planting material being available to farmers. It's the private sector role in the name of actors of seed producers and nursery operators who are licensed, trained to multiply the planting material on a commercial basis. Of course, there could be interventions where government buys the material, but government is not directly having stations where they're multiplying planting material being access to farmers. I think that is something I want to clear. We have farm organizations who mobilize for production, aggregate, and trade, which are anchor actors in making a sustainable coffee supply chain. Individual farmers are there. It's not that they are not there, but farmer organization is a strategic intervention a vehicle for promoting a sustainable coffee supply chain because our farmers are small producers. They can need to come together and aggregate their volume to be able to sell. We have small traders. Small traders are also part of the system and they are there, though the environment of the coffee industry is evolving. But traditionally, small traders who go to a home and pick a few grams or kilograms of coffee have been part of the system. Primary processors are part of the system. We traditionally we've had operators who are just owners of wet mills or dry mills where they provide a service to farm organizations or farmers to do their primary processing. We have what we call big traders. Those are the ones who do big volumes, who establish big stores in the different districts, hotspots of coffee producing areas. So this means that farmers don't have a challenge of where they are selling their coffee. The market is open 24 hours, 7 days a week when it's a coffee trading season. Then we have a category of what would mean exporters. Exporters are big off-takers of big volumes, and these are including the multinationals, which I've already introduced in the previous slides, who came to invest in the coffee supply chain as exporters. But we are also seeing an evolving role on what they're doing right now, excuse me, from what they came to do in the beginning over time as the coffee industry has become more vibrant and working towards sustainability. We have our end buyers traditionally, European Union, I would call it as a block, is our biggest end buyer where our importers or roasters are found. Of course, US also takes some bit of coffee, but European Union is our biggest buyer. That's where we are trying to strive to meet the European Union legal requirements, which are emerging, but also specific uh, buyer requirements, which they outline from time to time, which are executed based on business to business discussions and interactions. For those of you who are in the coffee value chain already as practitioners, I know I'm not talking Latin. Then roasters are also niche buyers, end buyers, and we see an evolving supply chain where some of our farmer organizations are linked directly to roasters without going through the big steps of, as you can see here. Please go ahead. And then locally, we have cafes and the roasting houses, which are emerging because of the evolving sustainable coffee supply chain strategy, which is being implemented by the government according to the national coffee policy. Uh, the coffee supply chain and the sustainable supply chain is evolving, and we are seeing an introduction of other key actors not directly linked in the handling of or owning the product as the first slide showed, but providing a service that is bringing the aspect of value addition through certification, the sustainability standard certification, which I've mentioned about, which are increasingly getting important in the context of the global sustainable coffee supply chain because of the reasons that consumers are demanding proof or evidence or understanding or support that while coffee is being produced, it does not contribute to detrimental environmental issues, does not infringe on people's human rights or well-being or contributes to well-being of people, and that the people who produce coffee benefit from it. That's where the sustainability standards driven mission come from. We are now globally and even okay, I won't say Uganda that we've taken it up. Where globally the sustainable supply chain coffee industry is going, or it is right now, not even going, it is right now that consumers who are in the taking coffee globally, not only for Uganda coffee, they are demanding proof that coffee is produced sustainably. And because of that, we are seeing an emergence, an introduction of the certification bodies and standard setting bodies coming to operate within our country. We have Fair Trade International offices which is coming to promote their code of conduct, the fair trade standards to the coffee producers and the traders, being able to provide training, information, and insights on how they can maximize better market access and premium markets based on the value add of proving to be sustainable producers, evidenced by the certification they offer. We have Rainforest Alliance, which is now operating in Uganda. It wasn't there actually. It started operating there in I think 2000, around 2015. It never had a residence office, but now they have a residence office promoting the ideology of sustainable production across the value chains, and coffee is one of their major focus product. We have these certification bodies which give the certificate. FlowCert from for fair trade, which are they have resident auditors. We have Control Union, which is certifying body, which gives certificates for cooperatives or processors or traders who comply to any of these standards, like especially Rainforest Alliance and organic and other lesser prominent sustainability standards. Ceres from Germany, an international certifying body promoting, not promoting, certifying to the sustainability standards. OneSat International from India, EcoSat from France. So what I'm trying to discuss here is that Uganda has not pronounced itself that our coffee must be sustained, certified, as we've discussed earlier. But we are seeing an existence of these value chain service providers to enable an environment that promotes formalized, sustainable coffee supply chain through certification. So the availability of service is on site. which is an evolution or change towards the policy direction of sustainable coffees as promoted by government. We have seen development partners traditionally, like which I've mentioned to you already, EU, USAID, Danida, GIZ, World Bank, coming to bring projects which are focused towards promoting formalized sustainable certification as it can be. Of course, besides the general sustainability of production and practices on farm and along the supply chain that is not certified, they are also having components in their projects which are targeting voluntary sustainability certification. I hope I'm communicating. So that is an opportunity or a growth that is happening in the coffee industry in Uganda. Please go ahead. So I want to discuss on how the coffee supply chain is evolving under the sustainable supply chain and certification environment that is being demanded in the global market for coffee. Um, Farmer organizations are actors already. You've seen them. Traditionally, as you've heard, they were only producers, but farmer organizations are evolving and taking on more roles and additional roles or complete management of the chain till the point of distribution, which is a complete evolution or turnaround from the traditional way the coffee industry was in Uganda before the recent times of a focus on a sustainable supply chain enabled by the national policy, coffee policy. We've seen farm organizations from being stronger, organizing their members, aggregating the coffee, establishing the processing facilities, which were a reserve for a category of processors, as we've seen them in the hierarchy of the supply chain at its falls. They're investing in infrastructure of processing owned by them, grading, bagging, and owning export licenses, and selling their coffee from bean to global market, owning licenses, and sometimes some of them going to the point of having um, direct contact with roasters on differentiated coffees based on some branding up strategies which they come up along the sustainable coffee story. Now, the coffee industry is evolving. The exporters traditionally would sit and wait for the big traders from the previous chain, how it was. They would wait for the big traders to aggregate coffee from the small farmers, from the small traders. The chain used to be exactly like that. But now is a complete breakaway with the evolution of a sustainable coffee supply chain. The exporters are going all the way to carrying on non-traditional roles, including organizing their specialized supply or production units from farmers. What do I mean? Is that exporters have taken on extra roles of mobilizing farmers, providing extension, providing inputs which are aligned with their sustainability ethos or sustainability protocols they are trying to promote for themselves as a brand, distinguishing themselves in the sustainable supply chain, and ensuring that farmers follow their protocols, which are internally managed and generated, which takes us back to what you've been learning about ECG, how you can integrate in operations, things which are of concern to you, which are resonating with your business ambitions and the way you want to manage risk within your businesses. I hope that one helps you to relate with what sustainable supply chains in coffee in Uganda is also trying to do. So we are seeing that ecosystem of change in roles and activities and engagement to ensure that the supply chain of coffee from Uganda is sustainable. And because government has liberalized everything, there is no limit to which actor can do what, as long as they are doing it within the law and they are doing it right. Okay, let's move forward. I want to introduce to you how a farm organization has positioned itself to ensure they operate a sustainable supply chain. And this organization is called Ankole Coffee Producers Cooperative Union. It's an organic certified cooperative. Please go ahead. It is certified to the organic standards of the European Union, to the US, to Canada, and other private standards which speak to the German market, the natural standards. It is Fair Trade Standard certified. It's Rainforest Alliance certified. But I would like to mention to you that that's not where they began. It has been a journey for them, taking on the different sustainability standards, the formal sustainability standards and compliance based on how they've grown within the market and expansion of their business strategy and outreach and competitiveness. This cooperative is not an old cooperative. It was just established in 2006, and it was actually started by two primary societies. Uh, I don't know if I'm communicating to anybody. Okay, some organization can have different levels of governance. Some membership at a lower level, which also form membership at another level, which we call second grade. So it was started by two primary societies, which are at a lower level, first grade organization, where your level of governance is at one level. And today they have 40 cooperative society members who subscribe to this union. And they've grown from being a small union to over 20,000 farmers who subscribe to it, individual farmers aggregating who receive services which include training. Of course, they have their training system in addition to their government specific extension system. They've set up their nursery operation systems, multiplying seedlings for their members. They've set up collection centers for aggregating their members' coffee. They've set up their own internal standards of quality, of course, aligned with the national coffee quality standards. They've set up their transport chain, and they've invested in infrastructure for that. They've set up a coffee processing facility, and they are able to collect the different qualities of coffee, traceable to their member primary societies and to their individual members, bagged and traded in the international global sustainable coffee supply chains as a special coffee. How they manage to do this? It is based on what we call internal management systems, which is a foundation for setting up a formalized certified sustainable supply chain, which involves knowing every farmer who is part of that supply chain, their volumes, their potential production, following what we call internal standards, which include how they should grow coffee, what varieties should they grow, how should they harvest the coffee, how should they dry it, how should they process it, how should they store it, all those codes which are enshrined within the sustainability standards. And the cooperative domesticates them and communicates them to their members. So if you asked me, is it possible for farmer organizations to organize themselves for a distinguished sustainable supply chain? Yes. And this case can be repeated in many, many places and can promote a differentiated supply chain which addresses business to business connections for a viable industry for the country. Of course, as I've told you, the government does not market coffee. It is out of it. So the evolution and emergence of farm organization is key to this. And we are seeing many of such in the country. Some are formally certified, but some are simply implementing the sustainability principles along the guidance provided by the streamlined coffee extension system, the aspects we already discussed in the first presentation. Um, it is a force, and that's why it's a force of case example of what it can be done to promote a sustainable coffee supply chain, even using farmer-owned driven institutions privately self-propelling without much intervention. Well, no, not that without much intervention, with an enabling environment, policy environment provided by government, as we've seen from the strategic objectives of our national coffee policy. Please go ahead. How is Uganda bringing it all together with that case example? Go ahead, please. Again, wrapping it up. Um, at a lower level of a farmer organization or an entrepreneur. Now I'm now being very practical to some of you participants who are entrepreneurs in this call. How you can organize your farmers for a sustainable supply chain that is differentiated in the market. At least as a prerequisite, it is important, especially knowing that you're also in the setup where your farmers are small producers, not what plantations or estates as in Brazil. The farmers need to be formally organized in a group, and they should have knowledge, or they should get knowledge into the best sustainable practices on farm, either through training. And if it's for certification, they should get knowledge of what that certification standards is talking about. For example, if it's organic, they should understand the organic production principles, and they should be willing to adhere to them. So that is a checkpoint. Uh, there is no farmer group organization without specific membership rules. They should be clear, and the engagement rules and inclusiveness to enable a sustainable collective marketing and collective production and marketing must be a code within the group that is agreed by all the participating farmers. If, for example, it is you're going to promote a sustainable supply chain based on organic principles, farmers should already be producing organic by default. Those are now details. Default is like at least they should not be using chemicals, because I know, for example, yeah, chemicals are being used in coffee production. But if, for example, you're going to focus on organic, chemicals should not be used. And the area where you organize farmers for such a certification, they should not be using chemicals. And also, please, the certified sustainable supply chains cost money. So it's not just a desire because it's the trend or you've heard about it. There should be a high market potential, either from you, the organizer, or the farmer themselves need to understand what are the market opportunity to benefit from all the interventions they have to do to get into certified sustainable supply chains. Of course, it goes with capacity. Do they have capacity to collect the desired quality? Do they have the capacity to implement the quality management systems that are quite elaborate, which I won't go in? But certification has an elaborate internal management quality system that has to be followed for it to be credible. Do they have the human resource? Those are questions when you're trying to say, oh, certification, sustainable, it has to be certified. Those are questions. Do you have the required human resource? Sustainable certification is quite knowledge intensive because it's a technical space. Is there a willingness or ability to invest in the adjustment along the production and operations related to production, processing, and distribution in compliance with the sustainability standards. Those are, I'm just now trying to bring the practical, reflections. Please go ahead. And maybe you can also share with me what you've done. Okay, basic steps of trying to organize farmers for a certified sustainable supply chain. Of course, starts with mobilizing many farmers, small farmers. One little farmer is no business case. But mobilize the farmers into a group that produces a viable amount. Understand the gaps that may are existing that are not compliant to the standards, or identify the strengths that are already there so that you can build on them. Once the gaps are understood, you try to develop a roadmap on how to address those gaps, on when, who, the budget, and that of implementing those activities, and of course setting targets. I think this goes again to those something you've been learning the previous 2 days of how you have to measure ECG. It's the same concept altogether, and even in the supply chain of commodities like coffee, as far as sustainability certification is concerned. And then you support the implementation of that roadmap, which troubleshoots the gaps, improvements, and you measure that you are achieving what you should achieve based on the sustainability standards. And then you should be able to call the certifier, the certification bodies, which can help you get a formal certificate pronouncing you as a sustainable, aligned producer or company or farm organization. Please go ahead. Um, what time am I having? How much more time?
It's 9 past 9, Florence. So we should be wrapping it up
Okay,
by 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, fine.
Um,
Please, please
and
show me the next slide. Fine.
Yeah, and also a quick update. We might want to include participants' questions if they have within the 20 minutes. So if you can arrange the
Okay,
link. Okay,
okay,
I'll show the slide.
okay. Show me the slide. I think I've already discussed the applicable sustainability practices, which are also now implemented at this organization: inclusiveness, making sure workers' rights are respected, promoting sustainable agricultural practices and the way coffee is produced, using only recommended agrochemicals that are not hazardous to the environment, and recording them. Those are some of the sustainability practices that are promoted along the supply chain to the individual farm level. Please go ahead. Mm, go ahead. Go ahead. And then they also promote a lot of the governance issues around transparency, participation, democracy, and respect, which are enshrined within the fair trade standards. I think that has been a big contributor on making them strong to grow from a small organization to where they are, that they are now a leading case example of sustainable practices. I won't go into this certification business. If somebody has an issue, I can elaborate on it. But certification is really around guaranteeing to the consumers that the product that they have put on the market has been produced according to the said standards. In this case, according to the sustainability standards that are out there, that have been accepted by consumers as a blueprint for sustainable supply chains. For example, in coffee, the Rainforest Alliance, Fair Trade, the organic, and other smaller sustainability standards. But those three are the big ones in the coffee industry. And even in Uganda, these are the certifications which are being adopted by our exporters and our farmer organizations who have gone along that line of formal sustainability certification. Please go ahead. Um, I won't go into that. That is a technical detail. Just go. I want to have a reflection, or you have a reflection by saying choosing formal sustainability standards in your and applying them in your supply chain and getting certification is a business case. We are talking of sustainable supply chains, but taking it to another level that you want to be proved by getting a certificate following a certain standard should be a business case where you have to have a targeted market and consumer demand for that such a standard. If you're stepping out there marketing from farm to global market or retail or distribution, your traders or your trading partners will be speaking about what type of certification they want. So it's the one that should drive your choice, of course. You should consider the compliance requirements. These formal sustainability standards have different, okay, the themes are the same along the social, economic, and environmental requirements, but the detail differs. And the technical details and the evidence of compliance differ, requiring sometimes investments, technical capacity, hiring experts because you may not have all the residents' technical expertise, and those all add up to the costs. So evaluate the costs and the complexity that you have to overcome based on the gaps that you've identified. Are you able to foot those costs? Certification, sustainability certification based on these standards for global market access should be a business case. Please go ahead. How Uganda is bringing it together again, just go down and I see what is there. What have been the success factor for Uganda's sustainable coffee industry? Remember, I asked you, is sustainable supply chain, must it be certified? It was a reflection. Or must it be aligned to a specified sustainability standard? You'll tell me. How is Uganda bringing it together to have a sustainable coffee industry? We have a good weather. That one I already explained a lot about it. There is a very focused uh, intention of managing pests and disease through research, training, and extension. Um, of course, I don't know how that one has come there. Dedicated research agenda on coffee has helped Uganda to bring it to where we are right now, to the volumes, to the growth, to the breakthroughs that we are experiencing. Coffee farm organizations being a focus vehicle of promoting sustainable coffee industry has been very instrumental, and it's a policy objective as we've seen it, and they are free operating along the entire value chain without any further restriction. And some of them are going into higher value additions through formalized standard certification, which I've just described as the case in the previous cooperative. Please go ahead. Uh, we have very established sustainable coffee production practices, processing and quality standards, which are promoted. That one, I think I talked about it earlier. We are having a highly controlled and regulated coffee planting material production as a focus. Not only is it produced, but it's highly controlled and regulated. No one just produces anything. You must be licensed. And that is the foundation, doing it right from the right planting material. Focused extension system, I've already discussed that. Strong stakeholder engagement and convenience. You have Uganda as a country having the different stakeholders coming together in different events and industry events. For example, we have the celebration of the coffee year every year. The industry comes together and it's a big event organized by government and where there are policy dialogues, industry issue discussions, incorporating all the value chain actors as you've seen earlier. And from time and again, for example, traders have their breakfast meeting every month. Processors have their Those associations have their breakfast. So there is a concerted effort of stakeholder engagement, discussion, and convenience that keeps the industry very vibrant. Down, please. Uh, Favorable farm gate prices enabled by the liberalized policy. And then lastly, I think the targeted investment in the coffee sector by the government at various points of production, in research, in extension, in containment of diseases, in enabling this infrastructure development in coffee producing areas, like promoting processing mills, which are invested by government, enabling the road infrastructure, storage, all those government is doing different activities to ensure that the coffee industry is enabled. And then, of course, the strong policy regime and regulatory regime are supported by a clear coffee roadmap and a national coffee strategy, backed by the National Coffee Act on how the industry should go. So that's how we are bringing it together. Please go ahead. I think this presentation should be done. So what can Nepal learn from Uganda's sustainable coffee supply chain?